What happens when the man who owns the whole place stands in line like any other customer and watches his manager insult someone who just wanted a little help? Isaac Granger stood at the edge of the sidewalk, pulling his hat lower over his forehead and adjusting the thick-framed glasses he normally never wore. His beard had grown out over the last few weeks and was peppered with gray, making him look more like a tired trucker than the CEO of a 7-store diner chain his father built from scratch 30 years ago. He stuffed his hands into the pockets of his faded hoodie and stepped into location. Number 4, one of the older diners, tucked between a rundown laundromat and a vape shop. This spot had been bleeding cash for the last 6 months. Complaints about rude staff and long wait times had trickled in, but nothing specific enough to act on. His district manager told him it was just a slow season. He didn't believe that. None of the staff here had ever met him in person, not even the manager. His dad had run things face to face, but Isaac had taken over just before the pandemic, and most of the staff turnover happened after that. These days, the company had over 200 employees. He mostly worked from the office until now. He slid into line behind a man in his late 70s, thin, hunched, wearing an old olive green coat and gripping a small notepad in shaking hands. The man squinted up at the menu board. "Excuse me, miss," the elderly man said, voice soft as he leaned over to the cashier, a young woman with dark circles under her eyes. "Do you still have the early bird breakfast?" Before she could answer, a guy in a pressed black polo stepped out from behind the counter. His name tag read, Manager Kyle. Kyle rolled his eyes and stepped closer. "Sir, that's only before 10 a.m. It's noon. Can you read a clock?" The old man blinked. "Oh. I didn't realize, sorry, I just don't have much this week and I thought—" Kyle cut him off. "Look, if you can't afford a $5 meal, maybe don't eat out. We're not a soup kitchen." The diner went dead quiet. Isaac felt something hot rise in his chest. He stepped forward without thinking. "Hey," Isaac said, his voice calm but sharp. "That how you talk to customers?" Kyle turned. "Who are you?" "Just a guy with eyes," Isaac said. "How about I cover his meal?" The old man looked down, embarrassed. "No, I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," Isaac said, pulling a 20 from his wallet and handing it to the cashier. "Get him whatever he wants, and add a pie if you've got it." Kyle crossed his arms. "We don't take charity cases here. He's not even supposed to be." "Enough," Isaac said, his voice low now. "Get back to whatever it is you do." Kyle laughed. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Isaac didn't answer. He just helped the old man to a booth and sat across from him. "You okay?" The man nodded slowly. "I'm fine, son. Just didn't know people could be that cold." Isaac gave a tight smile. "Yeah, me either." The waitress brought over scrambled eggs, toast, and a slice of apple pie. Isaac nodded to her. Her name tag said, Brenda. "Thank you," Isaac said quietly. Brenda gave a faint smile. "That guy's always like that. I hate it. But if I say anything, he cuts my hours." Isaac watched her walk away, noting the limp in her step. She looked exhausted. He looked back toward the counter, where Kyle was now joking with another employee, smirking like nothing had happened. Isaac clenched his jaw. He wasn't ready to reveal who he was, not yet. He wanted to see more. He stayed in the diner for another 2 hours, pretending to write in a notebook while watching everything. Kyle didn't lift a finger. He barked orders, mocked a dishwasher for being too slow, and spent half his time on his phone. Meanwhile, Brenda never stopped moving. She took orders, wiped tables, restocked napkins, and even helped a crying kid who'd dropped his food. No one thanked her. No one offered help. By the end of lunch rush, Isaac had seen enough. He stepped outside and called his assistant. "Pull the footage from the location 4. I want everything from the last 30 days. "Did something happen?" "Yeah," Isaac said, his voice tight. "Something I should have seen a long time ago." He hung up and slipped back inside. Kyle was now sitting at a booth, sipping soda and laughing with a teenage server. Isaac walked to the back, toward the staff-only door. Brenda stopped him. "Sir, you can't go back there." Isaac looked at her and gave a small nod. "I know, but I need to talk to someone. Meet me out back in 10 minutes. She frowned. "Why?" "Because this isn't just a diner. I own it." He walked past her before she could answer, leaving her staring after him, stunned. Brenda stepped cautiously through the back exit, wiping her hands on a towel that was already damp from too many shifts in a row. The alley behind the diner was narrow, cluttered with two overflowing trash bins and the lingering smell of fryer oil. Isaac leaned against the brick wall, arms folded, expression unreadable. She stopped a few feet away, eyes narrowed. "You weren't kidding, were you?" Isaac shook his head. "No, I'm not here as a mystery shopper or a consultant. My name is Isaac Granger. I've owned this business since my father passed it down. I haven't been on the floor in a long time, but I saw enough today to know I've been looking the wrong way for too long." Brenda looked down at the towel in her hands, then back up. "Why now?" "Because I got tired of hearing numbers and excuses. I needed to see people." She exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding it in for hours. "I don't know what you want to hear." "I want the truth," Isaac said. "All of it. What's going on here?" Brenda leaned back against the opposite wall, arms crossed tightly. "People don't stay," she said. "We're short-staffed every week. We get new hires, they leave after 3 days. Kyle either ignores them or uses them to get out of doing his job. Last month I worked 12 days in a row because he gave the only other server my hours for saying she needed Sundays off for her daughter's school." Isaac's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "There's no training," she continued. "No backup. If the dishwasher calls in sick, guess who's scrubbing plates between tables? And if you say anything, Kyle brings up your hours. No HR rep ever calls back. Corporate sends flyers about employee culture, but we haven't had a staff meeting since last year." Isaac nodded once, slowly. "How long have you been here?" "Almost 4 years." He looked at her more closely. "Why stay?" Brenda hesitated, then gave a small shrug. "I don't really have anywhere else to go right now. My mom's in assisted living, and I'm covering the bills. This job's just barely enough. I keep thinking it'll get better." Isaac let that sit for a beat. "What about Kyle? What's he like when he's not standing in front of customers?" Brenda's voice dropped. "Worse. He makes comments about how people dress, how they look. He jokes about the cooks' accents, threatens to dock hours if we say we're sick. One of the hosts quit after he told her she was too heavy to be at the front counter." Isaac stood up straight. "He said that?" Brenda nodded. "She cried in the walk-in, left during lunch rush. He said she was being dramatic." Isaac pulled out his phone. "I need you to do something," he said. "Get back in there. Act like nothing's changed. I'll handle this." She hesitated. "You're going to fire him." "Yes." Brenda swallowed hard, then nodded and turned to go back inside. Isaac waited until the door shut behind her, then walked around the building to the front. His shoes crunched on broken gravel as he entered through the main door again. The air inside still smelled of burned toast and overused grease, and the mood hadn't changed. Kyle was behind the counter now, leaning against the soda machine, scrolling on his phone. Isaac walked up to him. "We need to talk, now." Kyle glanced up. "Oh, it's you again. Look, if you've got some complaint, fill out the 'I'm Isaac Granger.'" Kyle blinked. "What?" "I own this diner, and 6 others. You're done here. Get your things and leave." There was a beat of silence. Then Kyle's mouth twisted. "Wait, you're serious? Over that old guy earlier? You can't be—" "I saw how you treated him. I saw how you treat your staff. I've pulled the security footage. I've heard enough from employees. You're done." Kyle's voice rose. "You can't do this. I've been here over a year. I run this place. You think some sob story from a waitress means—" Isaac didn't raise his voice. "Brenda kept this place running while you sat on your phone and insulted people. You've harassed staff, driven off new hires, and created an environment where good people are afraid to speak up. That ends today." A few customers had turned to watch. One of the line cooks stepped out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a rag, expression neutral but alert. Kyle scoffed. "This is ridiculous." Isaac stepped closer. "You're not just fired. You're being reported to HR. Your actions qualify as workplace harassment. You'll be escorted off the property. Now, go clean out your locker. Don't speak to anyone on your way out." Kyle looked like he might argue again, but something in Isaac's voice cut through whatever fight he had left. He shoved past a waitress and stormed into the back. Isaac turned to the cashier, a quiet young man who hadn't said a word all day. "What's your name?" Darius, you're on register. Yes, sir. You're doing fine. Keep going. I'll help run food for now. Darius blinked. Wait, you? Isaac nodded. Nobody else is coming in today, and the customers still need to eat. He grabbed a tray and headed toward the kitchen, where the cook looked up from the grill. Name? Victor, the cook said, voice wary. How's your line today? Short 2 people. One called out, other quit last week. I've been doubling up. Anything you need from me right now? Victor raised an eyebrow. You cook? I know how not to burn eggs. That'll do for now? Victor gave a dry nod. Fine. The tickets are backing up. If you can plate and run, that'd help. Isaac washed his hands, grabbed an apron from the hook, and got to work. For the next 2 hours, he worked the floor. He bussed tables. He refilled drinks. He ran plates out to families and apologized for the wait. He saw the cracks more clearly now, the broken POS screen at the register, the empty sanitizer bottles near the coffee station, the flickering light above booth 12. He noticed Darius's quiet efficiency, memorizing orders without a notepad. He noticed Victor's steady hands even when the grill was overflowing. He noticed how Brenda checked on every customer, even the ones who didn't ask. By 4 o'clock, the lunch crowd had thinned. Isaac stepped into the kitchen, shook hands with Victor, and set down his tray. Thank you, he said. Victor gave a nod. You gonna fix this? Isaac looked him in the eye. That's why I'm here. He returned to the front and called Brenda over. You're the new floor lead, starting today. I'm bringing in someone from another location to help run things while we rebuild. Pay bump included. Brenda blinked, stunned. You're serious. You earned it. She looked down for a second, then back up. What about everyone else? I'm meeting with each of them over the next few days. No more being left in the dark. No more silence. She nodded slowly. You're really staying in this? I should have been here sooner. That's on me. But I'm not walking away again. Brenda folded her arms. A different kind of weight behind her eyes now. Then let's get to work. Brenda stood near the coffee station with a clipboard in hand, reviewing the next batch of shift schedules. She hadn't said much since Isaac made her floor lead, but the change in how the team looked at her was already visible. Darius had asked for her input on a customer issue earlier, without hesitation. Even Victor, who rarely spoke unless necessary, had started calling her boss with a half nod that felt more like respect than sarcasm. Isaac sat at a corner booth, phone off, notebook open. The sun through the diner's worn blinds cast long, diagonal lines across the chipped tabletop. His right wrist ached from running plates earlier, but he didn't mind. He'd come here to understand the gaps, and now he was beginning to see them everywhere. A heavy-set man in his mid-40s entered the diner, wearing a navy button-down and khakis. He paused near the entrance before heading toward Isaac. His name tag read, Dillon District Manager. Dillon didn't sit. Got your message? You want to explain what's going on? Isaac looked up. You approved Kyle's last 3 performance reviews. Dillon's expression didn't shift. His numbers were consistent, labor costs under target, attendance above the district average. And you never thought to visit the floor yourself? I was here last month. For how long? 20 minutes, sat in the corner, watched lunch service. Did you speak to Brenda or Victor? I don't make a habit of interrupting staff during peak. Isaac closed his notebook. Kyle is gone, fired, effective immediately. You'll process it with HR. Dillon raised an eyebrow. I saw the footage you pulled. Yeah, he was sharp with the old guy, sure. But I don't know if that warrants... It wasn't a one-off, Isaac said. He's been harassing staff, retaliating over shift assignments, and creating an environment where people are afraid to speak. That's not just fireable. That's a liability. Dillon shifted his weight. You run a business long enough, you know that turnover's part of the game. Not everyone has thick skin. Isaac stood. You think this is about skin? Dillon didn't answer. Isaac stepped around the booth. I want written reports on every complaint filed at this location in the past year. If I find out anything was buried, I'll hold people accountable all the way up the chain. That includes you. Dillon looked away for the first time. Understood. Also, Isaac added, you're no longer overseeing this location. I'm assigning someone else from our flagship store. You'll assist during the transition, but your authority here is suspended. Dillon's jaw tightened. You're serious? I was serious the minute I saw a man get humiliated for asking about a breakfast deal. Dylan nodded once and left without another word. Isaac turned back toward the kitchen and saw Brenda watching from the pass window. She didn't say anything, but her grip on the clipboard relaxed. By late afternoon, the shift had slowed enough for Isaac to call a quick huddle. The remaining staff, Brenda, Darius, Victor, and a part-time dishwasher named Ray, gathered near the back prep table. No one seemed sure what he was about to say. "You've all been holding this place together," Isaac said. "That ends today. You shouldn't have to carry more than your share just to survive a shift." Victor leaned against the sink. "What's the plan?" "First," Isaac said, "we're bringing in 2 floaters from the flagship to fill shifts while we recruit. That should happen by Monday. Second, I'm ordering a full equipment audit, broken gear, outdated tech, anything slowing you down. Third, Brenda's role comes with real authority. Final say on scheduling, customer disputes, and supply priority." Ray looked up from his phone, surprised. "Wait, she's really in charge?" "Does that bother you?" Isaac asked. No, I just thought it was temporary." "It's not," Isaac said. "And if anyone has a problem with it, they can come to me, but they should be ready to explain why." No one spoke. Isaac nodded. "Last thing, we're opening up a direct line to corporate. Staff can email or call anonymously. Complaints will route to me and our new head of operations. No more waiting weeks for a reply." Darius finally spoke. "What about pay?" "We're reviewing all base wages across locations next quarter. If we can bump them earlier, I will. But for now, overtime gets logged, no exceptions. And Brenda will track hours weekly to make sure no one's overextended." Victor gave a short nod. "Fair enough." Brenda looked over at Isaac. "You said you wanted to meet with people one-on-one?" "Starting now." They returned to their stations, and Isaac took the corner booth again. One by one, each staff member sat across from him, sharing things that had built up for months, sometimes years. Victor told him about the time the fryer caught fire, and Kyle made him finish his shift before filing a report. Darius explained how he'd trained 3 new hires alone and never got credit. Ray admitted he'd been skipping breaks because no one covered the dish pit. Isaac took notes without interrupting. When Brenda sat down last, she didn't reach for the clipboard. She just looked exhausted. "You all right?" Isaac asked. "You know what's strange?" she said. "This is the calmest shift we've had in weeks, and it's still rough. We're short, we're tired, but no one's on edge. No one's waiting for the next blow-up." Isaac leaned back. "That's not strange. That's what happens when people aren't afraid." She glanced out the window. "I don't know how long it'll take to fix everything." "Neither do I, but I'm not leaving this time." She nodded, then stood. "Then I'll stay too." Isaac stayed until the end of the shift. When the doors finally locked, he helped mop the floor, refill the napkin caddies, and stack chairs. Victor handed him a trash bag without a word. Isaac took it willingly. As he hauled it out back, a new voice called out from the parking lot. "Mr. Granger?" A young woman in a delivery uniform approached, holding a clipboard and a small box. "Sorry to bother you. I've got a late drop from Central Supply, paper goods and some replacement bulbs. Didn't want to leave it overnight." Isaac took the clipboard and signed. "Thanks for coming out this late," she smiled. "You're welcome. Just started this route. Heard this place was tough, but seems like it's changing." He watched her walk back to the truck, then looked down at the clipboard again. The order had been placed that morning. Brenda's approval code was on it. Inside, the lights were dimmed, the last of the kitchen noise fading out. Brenda stood at the counter, counting the till. Victor was already halfway out the door. Darius leaned on a stool, sorting condiments for tomorrow. Isaac looked around, then reached into his back pocket and pulled out a faded photo. His father stood in front of this same diner, hand resting on the shoulder of a much younger Isaac, both of them smiling under the old red awning. The awning was gone now, replaced years ago, but the bones of the place hadn't changed. He folded the photo and tucked it away. "See you all tomorrow," he said. Brenda looked up. "You're coming back?" "I'm not finished." She gave a quiet nod. "Okay then, we'll be here." By the end of the week, the shifts ran tighter. Not smoother, there was still a shortage, but tighter, more deliberate. Brenda's new authority carried weight, and the team adjusted. Tasks were assigned more clearly. Breaks, though short, were scheduled instead of left to chance. Victor's prep list was on the wall by 7:30 each morning. Darius started checking inventory before the register even powered on. Isaac showed up each day without ceremony, no announcement, no clipboard, just a black apron and rolled sleeves. He didn't hover, but he watched, not to catch mistakes, but to understand what normal looked like when people were given space to work without fear. On Friday afternoon, a man in his mid-60s walked in with a clipboard and sat at the counter. He wore a maintenance uniform navy coveralls with a sewn-in patch. Tony Facilities. Isaac joined him as Brenda poured him a coffee. "Morning, Tony. Appreciate you coming down." Tony nodded. "You flagged this place for full inspection?" "I want a full report. Wiring, plumbing, kitchen equipment, anything that's out of code or past service date." Tony raised an eyebrow. "That's rare. Usually I'm just sent to patch what's broken." "Not anymore," said Isaac. "If it hasn't been replaced in 5 years, tag it." Tony sipped his coffee. "You're the owner, right?" Isaac nodded. Tony glanced at the dining room. "Place feels different." "It's supposed to." Tony stood. "All right, I'll get started." By mid-afternoon, Isaac had his hands deep in the dry storage closet, helping Ray reorganize supplies that had been hastily shelved for years. The back corner had boxes of paper straws that hadn't been opened since the pandemic started. Isaac pulled them down, dust in his eyes. "You ever think you'd be doing this?" Ray asked, breathing through his sleeve. "I didn't think I'd need to," Isaac said. "That's the problem." Ray handed him a box cutter. "You're not like most people up top. They usually just send emails." "That's going to change." Ray didn't reply, but he didn't leave either. Around 4, a woman in a blazer walked in mid-30s, focused, with a laptop bag tucked under her arm. She waited until Isaac stepped out from the back. "Hi, I'm Kelly, from People and Culture." Isaac motioned toward the side booth. "Let's talk over here." Kelly opened her laptop. "I've reviewed the footage and the employee statements. The termination stands. Kyle's conduct violates 3 clauses in the employee handbook, and 2 fall under state-level harassment policy. We'll be filing a formal record." Isaac nodded. "Good. What about the district manager?" "Dylan's file is clean, but the oversight is significant. We're recommending he be reassigned to a support-only role until further notice. He'll no longer have direct authority over field staff." Isaac leaned back. "That's a start. I want a new policy drafted. Every location must be visited in person at least once every 6 weeks, and it can't be 15 minutes over lunch. Full walkthroughs, staff check-ins, anonymous surveys every quarter. No more pretending we're too big to care." Kelly typed quickly. "Understood. We'll route a draft by next week." Isaac looked out across the dining room. "And I want Brenda formally promoted. Title change, pay bump, benefits eligible. I already started the paperwork. She's getting retroactive pay from the day she stepped up." He nodded. "Good, she earned it." Kelly paused. "I have to ask why this store? Why now?" Isaac looked down at his hands, still dusted with flour from helping Victor earlier. "Because a man got humiliated for asking if he could afford breakfast, and I stood in line and watched it happen." Kelly didn't speak. She didn't have to. That night, the new assistant manager arrived, Laney, a steady hand from the flagship store with 5 years under her belt. She shook Brenda's hand first, then went straight to work reviewing the scheduling board. No fanfare, no introductions beyond what was needed. Just a quiet presence and a notepad that filled quickly. Brenda caught Isaac leaning against the window near closing. "You trust her?" "I trained her myself. She doesn't talk much, but she doesn't miss anything." Brenda nodded. "She already flagged our inventory log, said someone's double ordering soda syrups." Isaac smiled faintly. "Told you." Brenda hesitated, then said, "Ray asked me today if you're staying long term. I told him I didn't know." Isaac looked out at the street, where the headlights of passing cars lit up the sidewalk in short bursts. "I'm not going back to the office until every store gets a full walk. I can't fix everything from a spreadsheet, and I don't want to." She studied him. "So what now?" "Now we rebuild." The next morning, Isaac arrived before sunrise, not to observe, not to correct, but to paint. The hallway leading to the restrooms had water stains and peeling corners. He laid down drop cloths and opened a fresh can of off-white. Victor walked in, saw the brush in Isaac's hand, and didn't say a word. He just dropped his backpack and grabbed a roller from the supply room. By mid-morning, Brenda brought them both coffee. No words exchanged, just a nod between people who understood what showing up actually meant. As the lunch crowd trickled in, the mood was different. Not cheerful, this wasn't a fairy tale, but steadier. Customers were greeted faster, orders moved quicker, the coffee was fresh, the syrup refilled, and Brenda's voice carried just enough weight to keep things moving without tension. Isaac stayed out of the way, watching from a side booth. He wasn't needed anymore, not in the same way. That was the point. Late in the day, a familiar figure stepped through the door, the elderly man in the olive green coat. Same notepad, same slow shuffle. He paused at the front, scanning the room. Brenda saw him and walked over. "Good to see you again," she said. "We've got a booth open by the window if you'd like." He smiled faintly. "You remember me?" "Of course." She guided him to the seat and handed him a menu. "Early birds all day now. Owner's orders." The man looked surprised. "Really?" Brenda nodded. "Really?" From across the room, Isaac watched as she took his order, brought him a fresh glass of water, and checked on him twice during the meal. When he left, he placed a folded piece of paper on the table. Brenda opened it after he was gone. Just a short note. Thank you, not just for the food, for the dignity. She didn't show it to anyone. She didn't need to. That night, as the staff closed down, Isaac gathered them briefly near the counter. "I owe you all more than thanks," he said. "But I'll start there. You showed up when the people above you didn't. You worked through things that never should have been your burden. That changes now. No applause, just a quiet stillness." Brenda leaned against the counter. Victor wiped his hands on a towel. Darius crossed his arms, but didn't look away. Isaac continued. "We're not finished, but we're no longer pretending things are fine, and that's how change actually starts." He looked at each of them. "I'll see you Monday, and the Monday after that. You won't have to guess where I am anymore." As he walked out into the evening air, the door closed behind him with the soft chime of the bell, same one his father had installed decades ago. Inside, the lights dimmed and the chairs went up. Outside, Isaac turned back once and looked at the windows glowing against the night. The place wasn't fixed, but it was alive again. And this time, he wasn't watching from a distance.